They're very well coached. They're a good football team. I'll tell you this, though. We were playing good football early on. We just didn't play for 4 quarters. We challenged our team. There's a lot of things that we did well. We challenged our team to be ready for a noon kickoff and, not to have to wake up and realize that we're in a football game, but to be absolutely, energized, locked in, and ready, and we were. And, you come away with 2 field goals. And I think Coach has said it really well. If one of those was a touchdown, it's got a different feel to it, and obviously more points. And our defense, stopped them twice. Beginning of the game there, 3 and out, and been really working on our rush defense and our base front. We're playing well against the run. So we had the turnover, we had the blocked field goal, and all of a sudden at halftime, it just because of a couple situations, the score was more than it needed to be. And then in the second half, we just weren't able to respond. They threw the ball efficiently, and we missed some tackles, and they had all of a sudden they had a lot of points. And then offensively, when we got into rhythm and whatnot, we're pretty effective. I mean, rushed or had over 450 yards of offense, and I think over 280 yards, rushing. It was a good team that beat us, and I would have liked to have seen our team play for 4 quarters the way that we did for a quarter and a half. Are we capable of that? I absolutely believe so. But until we're able to do it and sustain it, it obviously raises the question.
All right, Coach. It seemed like a couple calls early in the game went against you, including the one that seemed like it could be a targeting call. Did that affect the momentum at all?
Having a first down right there with half the distance to the goal, if that's what it would have been helpful, no question. But the officials got together, didn't review it up top, but the officials reviewed it, on their own there and decided it wasn't targeting.
And then starting the game, Reggie started. How did you ultimately decide that he was ready to go over Brogan?
Yeah, well, he was our starter, before he got hurt and broke his jaw. And each situation is its own animal. You can sort of generally say you don't lose a position to injury, but you can win a position, when somebody's out and whatnot. So it's not as black and white. But the thing about Reggie's injury, it wasn't a shoulder, or a leg injury, and so although he was not cleared, for competition, for 6 weeks. He's been able, to run. He's been able to throw. He's been able to be, engaged. And so, although there was still some rust, first time playing in 6 weeks, we felt as though he was ready to go.
And then just a couple of injury updates. Anthony's phone, that looked bad. Is there any update to him? And how long does he be out?
Yeah, he's got a significant knee injury, and he won't be able to come back this year.
And then Reggie, he also went down in the, I think, 3rd quarter.
Right, his is much more minor. It'll be day to day to see how quickly he gets back, but it'll be more of can he get back to 100%? That's more the question for him.
And then Jeremiah Harris has been out. Is any progress towards returning?
Yeah, every week that goes by, I think it was 6 weeks. And if I remember right, it was Ball State was the last game that he played in. So, and when they say 6 weeks, that can be the short end usually. It could be more than that. And obviously they'll be continuing to look at him and to monitor how the healing's going.
And then obviously yesterday marked 2 years since the Bears streak was killed. Obviously you weren't coached at the time, but you still have a lot of players that were teammates. Have you talked to the team yet about how just kind of going with it?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it and bring it up as a team this year, and most of the things that we've done in the last almost 2 years have been led by the team. It was our guys' idea to bury his jersey, on the 50-yard line underneath the new field. You know, our guys wanted to fly the balloons for him on his birthday, that first June. You know, we on picture day, you know, the wide receivers had the jersey number 2 and for their group picture. And so, you know, I know that there was talk, but you know, about it and whatnot. But you know, as a team, we did not have, you know, any sort of like scheduled ceremony or whatnot. But you can see through social media and whatnot that you know, there's not a guy who you know, knew him and whatnot that wasn't thinking about him.
Can you compare and contrast Northern Illinois, because you almost beat them last year, and this year they're 4-3, but they're probably better than that. So can you just compare and contrast this team from last year?
Yeah, Northern Illinois is still really good. I think that's, you know, one way to say it. I mean, they played Ohio State incredibly well. They played Ball State incredibly well, and they've played some really good teams in our league. So, you know, it's the same quarterback. I mean, I think that's where you start on offensively, and you know, what we've seen. I mean, he's better. You know, he's a more of a seasoned quarterback. He's running the ball effectively and throwing it effectively. They've got weapons all over both sides of the ball. They're very well coached. You know, in special teams, it was a new coordinator, but somebody who's currently on their staff. You know, and so we know that part of the game is going to be coached well, as it has been. You know, and then defensively, you know, they're very well coordinated. You know, they know what they're doing, and I think one of the things that pops off the screen, but it's not different from last year. You know, it's more of a comparison in terms of likely or similar would be they're explosive. You know, and they move quickly. You know, and they're athletic and they're explosive defensively. They have a field corner who has 7 interceptions. You know, and so they're good. I mean, I think that I don't want to say they're the same old Northern Illinois. I've only been here for a year, but you know, there's a reason why they've won our league for so many years in recent years, and excuse me, they absolutely are capable of doing that again this year.
Coach DeBoer, going back to Creighton, talk about settling the field goals over touchdowns and what that did for the momentum in the game, because Toledo's defense seemed to settle in right after that.
Yeah, and I think it's just, you know, deflating. You know, we have 2 really good drives. Our defense got some stops, and, you know, then it's just 1 touchdown, and now you're behind 7-6. You know, that's the hard part. But I think, you know, we continue to show resolve and resiliency and just continue to come back. We just could not find a rhythm there. You talked about some of the officials and the plays that didn't go your way, and, you know, we got a first down, then it got moved back a yard, and then they had to reset the chains, and there's just, you know, the plays stopped for 2.5 minutes, you know, really of real time, and it's just hard to get back into the flow. And you're talking about a good defense that, you know, if you're not in that rhythm, you don't got them on their heels, and I mean, they're lining up, and they got some tough cats across from you, you know, that are pinning their ears back and now fresh, and you know, able to make some plays. And, you know, we had a couple of drives that just stalled there in the second quarter, and then of course the turnover, you know, was big. I mean, like Coach said, 14-6, we have the ball with less than 4 minutes to go on their end of the field. You know, you'd like to think it's a 14-14 game there, real quick, you know, with the way that we were moving the ball up to that point.
Talk about Reggie's performance, because he came out there and he looked like he was slinging the ball pretty well, and
Yeah.
just later on he got a little uncomfortable.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
talk about that.
You know, he came out and did a real nice job at first 3rd and long. I think it was 3rd and 9 or 8 to 10, somewhere in there, and threw a real nice seam route right down the hash. And I mean, it couldn't have been thrown any better. He had another 3rd down conversion on the next drive on 3rd and 6, and that's when, you know, the really good quarterbacks make their plays, and you know, it's on 3rd down and finding ways to convert. Thought he did a really nice job of using his feet in the first quarter to help move the chains. I was disappointed that he didn't do a little bit more of it at the end of the second quarter, when we were kind of going down the field again there when it was 21-6. I thought there was 2 or 3 opportunities, and you know, it's a fine line when you got a guy like Reggie, because we're telling him to throw and use his weapons on the outside and you know, distribute the football. And then we're saying, you know, use your legs because you're one of the fastest guys on the field. And so, you know, you just try to always talk about every situation and you know, kind of what would be best. And I thought there was a couple he could have ran and made some big plays. But in the third quarter, I think it was just everyone. You know, it wasn't just him. He was out of sync because other guys were out of sync too. You know, everyone's got to be a part of it. All 11 guys in the unit have to be there. You know, and the disappointing thing are the two turnovers, and that's you know, been something in the last 5 games now. We got 11 turnovers, and 9 of them are on our quarterbacks, and that's my position group, and I, you know, take full responsibility for that. And those guys, I mean, they're not trying to turn the ball over; they're competing. But we got to, you know, Reggie had a fumble where the ball just comes away. He gets a little bit of pressure, and that can't happen, you know. And so, you know, we got to get better at taking care of the football, because that's when the big momentum swings happen. So, overall, I thought he came back, you know, and did a really nice job against a very good defense. You know, he just needs to be able to sustain it and kind of get in that game mode, that battle mode for 4 quarters. You know, and when you've been out for 6 weeks, I don't know if he was quite to that point.
With Reggie being day-to-day, how does that affect game planning for what is another good defense?
Yeah. You know, we run most of the same stuff with Brogan. I mean, when Brogan came in, there were just maybe less design keep opportunities, but really the concepts are the same, and so the blocking schemes don't change much. I think when it comes to third down, you know, and trying to throw the ball or whatever the drop back package might be, it's not much different. And so, you know, the difference is when, you know, we were playing with Brogan, nothing against, you know, our next quarterback, but he's a true freshman, you know, and, you know, so you have to be, you know, a little bit more careful with that. When Reggie's out there, you know, you feel comforted in knowing that Brogan come out there and do a good job. If, you know, that's why we didn't even hesitate when Reggie got even a little bit dinged up. You know, Brogan's got, you know, 300 snaps under his belt this season, more than Reggie does, and so he's comfortable with the offense. The guys are comfortable with him, and so, you know, we didn't hesitate. We didn't want to further hurt Reggie, and you know, we kept moving forward.
Coach McCaslin, talk about the loss of with the struggling defense and what is banged up defense.
Yeah, we're gonna miss his contribution, you know, his leadership, his playmaking ability. You know, Nate Adams has been a guy that's rotated in for both eBay and Zappone, and you know, he'll get an opportunity to do that. And then, you know, we've also have Kyle Rockwall, who's been injured for a couple weeks now, but has also played that position. So, you know, there's a couple guys right there that can easily step up, and we need them to step up and fill that void.
I know you scored last 2 weeks 59 and 41 points. So how do you just break that streak?
The streak of scores against us, we've got to tackle the ball carrier and get off the field on third down. And you know, and so, you know, the you know, the other element to that is being consistently lined up to do the things that we need to do to be in the position we need to be in. And so we simplified some things this week defensively, and we had some progress with that. Not the kind of progress that wins games and you know, dominates a game defensively, but the kind of progress that we need to have, you know. And you know, we're going to continue to do that. We're going to be sound in what we do, get people the ball, and get off the field on third down.
More specifically with Drew here, last year he ran a little bit against us, and this year he's more throwing it. So how do you just defend him?
He's, you know, they're a balanced run pass team, you know, running a little bit more than they throw it. But I think that with Drew, you know, another year in the program, they, you know, I watched last year's game and two from this year so far, and you know, he's better at throwing the football. They're you know, using him to throw the football even in some running situations, opportunities when they can run the football, and so they want to get the ball out on the edge. They've got a new receiver that's caught a lot of passes for him this year. That's, you know, big tall guy, can go up and get the ball, and so I think that they're trying to, you know, to specifically be more balanced. But he's a talented guy, and anytime you're defending a running quarterback or an offense that has a running quarterback, you know, you have an extra challenge with that. You know, there's one more gap or one more fit that you have to make.
And how do you use
You know, the thing that we have to do is you know, where we had a couple of accomplishments early in the game, is that we've got to grow from those successes. You know, we've got to grow from getting off the field on third down. You know, and you know, we've got to do a better job of being consistent with the things that were successful early on, and we can do that. We can do that. You know, we're a group of guys right now that have some frustration. You know, and Coach, you know, put it to the team yesterday. We've got to channel that frustration in the right direction, and that is in accomplishing, you know, what we set out to accomplish.
You talk about getting that frustration out. A lot of it in that first quarter, for the first time since Ball State, you shut a team out. As Coach mentioned, you have some drives you get Toledo off the field. They couldn't convert on third down. Is it just is it a big play that kind of deflates them and it goes back the other way, or what do you think? Maybe building off the success for the first few drives to get to that point.
Yeah, I think that the one play that stands out, you know, when you're talking about the game of football, often it goes back to 5 or 6 plays that end up really controlling the game or dictating the outcome of the game. And so when we had the tip 2nd and 10 and we had him inside the 6-yard line and we actually had him kind of bottled up, had our hands on him, had an opportunity to make a play, and he squirted out of there and he ran right down their sideline, you know, in front of their entire bench, in front of their home crowd, and I think that ignited their team. I think that they didn't have the confidence that they then had after that play. They weren't playing with that confidence. We had frustrated them. We'd stifled them a few times, you know, and that play was it, you know. And so we've got to, when the opportunities are there, we've got to capitalize on more of those opportunities. You know, our success rate on opportunities has been somewhere around 50 to 55%, and we've got to grow that success rate. When you're there and you have a chance to make a play, you got to make the play.
You look back, really the only time he had a great amount of pressure on UT's quarterback was the one where he rolled out to the near side and he threw it away, but they said he was tackled. Otherwise, you really would have had their first sack of all year. Do you try to bring a little more pressure to do that, or you just wait back and try not to allow the big play to come?
We had a pressure package. We had about 3 different concepts for pressure. In that particular one, we chose coverage over pressure, and we wanted to be able to mix it. It was going to be a balance of, in third down, a balance of rushing 3 and playing max coverage, and then rushing 6. You know, and so in that particular one, you know, the ball got fumbled off of the snap a little bit, which enabled it. Nate Adams shot in, and you know, they called him down. I don't know why it's not a sack when the quarterback gets tackled in the backfield. It should be a sack. But
the weird thing was they did call it initially a sack, and then they took it away.
Yeah. So, but the situation there is that we wanted to be in somewhat of a balance in terms of what we were doing and keep them off guard, and we did in some third down situations. We frustrated them, and now we've got to go back and evaluate when you're sending pressure. You know, there's 2 things. There's the scheme that attacks maybe their protection, you know, in terms of how you're attacking it that way, or it's sending certain people that are better at blitzing, and so it's kind of indifferent of the scheme. You're just trying to get the matchup and you go. And we've got to continue to work on that, because in either of those situations there could be success.
Coach Creighton, you have a large amount of guys that are coming home from the state of Illinois back to play, including Darius Jackson returns, and then even Shaq Van not far away in only South Bend. The state of Illinois is certainly an important base, but how important is it for you guys to return back home to play near home?
Right. I think it's significant to be the first time that we've done it, you know, since I've been here. But we spent a lot of time, you know, in Ohio and traveling, you know, through Ohio, and got Indiana. But this is just the one time that we had that direction, you know, past Michigan anyway, west. And so we do have a significant number of guys from Illinois and then even farther west from there, and make it easier for those, you know, who are from Minnesota and from Iowa and whatnot on the team. So looking forward to it. And, you know, I've lived in the Chicago area and whatnot. And so, I mean, obviously there's, I don't know what the numbers are now, but 14+ million people, you know, in the greater Chicagoland area, or probably more than that now. And so, yeah, it'll be a good experience for us to go out that way. Such a quality program. You know, in some ways, we're trying to model some of the things that they've done. Talked about it earlier with Joe Novak and the job that he had done and what has sustained, since his time there at Northern Illinois, and actually just read part of his letter to the team, again to our team last night. And so we're looking forward to it.
We go back to the offense a little bit, but you look at the numbers on what your team's put up right now. You've already passed last year's total in touchdowns, and you even go back about 18 years. Through 7 games, you've already passed offensive numbers in 5 of those. That has to make you feel pretty good, knowing that your team can run the ball, especially offensively.
Yeah, I don't know that we know anything about the history or where we're ranking and stuff like that. I know that there are in every aspect of our team in terms of playing this fall, and then in the overall program, we are taking steps forward. We're not a finished product, and so you highlight the run game with the offense, and yeah, I mean it's really going well, and there's lots of reasons for that. The offensive staff has done a great job with figuring out our personnel, what our strengths and our weaknesses are. Our offensive line, who we're only going to have there's one senior. In the entire group, and there's probably a question mark on those guys with the 4 seniors leaving this last year, and Cole coming over from tight end, and those guys are doing a good job. Can they get better? Absolutely. Do they want to get better? Absolutely. But they're doing a pretty good job, and the combination of Darius and Shaq has been strong. I mean, D-Jack is playing like a senior, like a talented, committed, believing senior. It's just fun to watch, and that's been, when we look back to the Old Dominion game, there's a lot of eyes on Reggie, and so a lot of that's been done, knowing that, we're trying to keep the ball out of Brogan's hands as much as possible in terms of the run game, so yeah, there's a lot to build on with that. But that's that's one of, when I say many positives, there's plenty of things that we're working on. Plenty of things in the run game we're working on, but that's one of many bright spots.
And then my last question is, despite the blocked field goal, Dylan goes out again, has another 50-yard field goal, and we've talked a lot about him, but now he's just one of 3 players in school history to ever connect on multiple 50-yard field goals. For a kid that was a former walk-on, you've just got to be ecstatic for what he's done.
I mean, he's a senior captain. He is. And has lived up to that, in every way, on and off the field. He's having an awesome year. I mean, he really punted well on Saturday. We felt as though Toledo's returner was better than LSU's. And we went into the LSU game saying we cannot let that guy return the ball. And he got a 2-yard return off the muff punt. And on Saturday, there was 0 return yards, and we got the ball back. And Dylan really came through. Got the 51-yard. It wasn't a ton of wind, but it was against the wind that was there on the 51-yarder. And then we tried one going the other way, with a little bit of the wind at his back. And, it got blocked, but that wasn't the kicks issue. So he's having a great year. We're going to continue to depend on him and use him as a weapon, but super proud of the job he's doing.
Anything else, Andrew? Perfect.
All right, thanks, guys.